And then they, like, burnt the guy's nipple off with the pads, and I was like, "Well, this is not where I'm gonna die today." But if you try to hold yourself to that standard of never making a mistake, then you're always trying to you're always pushing yourself to do the absolute best that you can every day.
Hi, and welcome back to Banter at the Bedside. I'm Abby, one of your main co-hosts here, and we're excited this week to be talking to you about fast times and flat lines. It's going to be all codes today. Our first codes, fun codes, any kind of code story that we have, you're going to hear about it today, and you'll get a real behind-scenes look of what it really is like to run a code in the hospital, or maybe not even in the hospital. As always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Everything we say here is not medical advice. You should seek your own medical provider. We don't represent any company or entity as well. These thoughts and opinions are our own. First up, we have our other main co-host, Kaylee, with us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
And then a returning guest, Cody.
Hey, guys.
And then this week, we have our very first viral superstar physician, Jeff, joining us. Introduce yourself, Jeff.
Hey guys, my name's Jeff. I'm from way up north and originally got started in medicine a long time ago, it seems like now, but in all reality, probably 10 years. I went to medical school up at Michigan University and then came down here for training and stayed on as an attending.
How did it feel to have that video go viral with us?
I was a little, I don't know, I didn't really know what to think about it. I thought that it was something that was like kind of cool, but I've never really been real big into social media for that matter. So I thought it was cool, but it wasn't anything where I was, telling all my friends and family about.
You weren't sharing it like, oh, look, I got 32,000 views and 3,000 likes.
Really? I didn't even know it was that big. I mean, I think the last time we talked, you were telling me it was somewhere around like 12,000, but I didn't know that it had gotten that much bigger.
Yeah, it got much bigger. Yeah, it still is going. Every day someone else likes it. So,
Really? Yeah, it
yeah.
was fun. Making it was pretty fun. I was honestly a little bit nervous, but after the fact, I thought that was pretty simple and easy. So I thought that it was fun.
Yeah, it wasn't hard. You did it in one take.
One takes are the best, I think.
One takes are the best.
Yeah. I've seen some of your guys' other stuff pop up here and there, but I don't really have TikTok. And so most of the stuff I see is what people are showing me. So, but
Yeah.
they're all really good. I think I see some of the stuff on Instagram too.
Yeah. Well, thanks. We'll have to have you on for more. You definitely have some fans in those comments.
I love it.
All right. So codes are a big topic. They're always on TV shows. All of us work in a cardiac ICU and we know what they show on the TV shows isn't real. So I thought it would be fun, interesting to kind of tell our code stories. So I wanted to open up. Does anyone remember their first code ever that they were a part of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Katie.
It was literally my second day as a new grad, and we had a patient that was fluid overloaded, ended up flashing, and the way it happened was he went into VFib, and then there was like a brief period where I was like, I thought people who would go into VFib pass out, and then literally a second later he was like, I'm like, I didn't know what to do. Everyone came in the room. I put my gloves on, but I stood by the door and did nothing. And then they like burnt the guy's nipple off with the pads. And I was like, well, this is not where I'm going to die today. So I stayed by the door.
Like what, like the sticky pads, or were they doing,
The sticky pads.
They put the defib pads on him, I guess, real quick.
Yeah.
And it got his nipple. I remember hearing about this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like my worst fear of coding is waking up with no nipples.
Yeah.
That's your worst fear?
Yeah. I mean, that, and someone coded me. I'm a DNR, DNI.
Right.
So
They went against your wishes.
they went against my wishes. That's really the worst fear.
And that was your when you were new grad on
That
CICU?
was my second day.
Second day. Was it a night shift?
Yeah.
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 Has anybody ever done that? Just, I got my gloves on though.
I literally was of no point. Like, I was
Were
useless.
you at least holding a saline flush?
I was doing nothing. I was
I
holding
was
the organ.
I've seen people do that, but I personally have never been that person.
I didn't know what
But
to do.
You
I
watch.
mean,
I
I
feel like
did.
I was just going to say, I feel like I had a very similar experience to you, Cody, when I was in my very first code. It was when I was working in EMS still, and I was at maybe my first week on riding in the ambulance. And at that time we were like orienting and stuff. And we had got called to someone's house, and I walked in with our team, and essentially I just had gloves on while everyone else was running around doing a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like standing there, eyes wide open, like what do I do? Like, I thought I was supposed to be
Yeah.
doing compressions, but there was already somebody doing that, and it just was, chaos kind of. And so I feel like I can relate very well to your experience and what you're feeling. I feel like a lot of times that's what people's first experiences are in a situation like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
yeah.
Somebody's supposed to grab you and be like, come over here and do this.
I'm glad they didn't.
It's probably a little harder in the field, Jeff, for someone to grab you and say, "Come do this."
Well, yeah, I mean, in that particular instance, it was a lot of times I feel like when we're practicing codes in the hospital, we try to emulate bystanders and people kind of freaking out in the moment. And, you know, that's very much what happened in that instance. There was us with EMS, fire was there, police was there, the whole, family was there, aunts, uncles. It was in a very rural part of Michigan, back probably 10 or more years ago. And the, it, it was just, it was weird walking into a situation where everyone kind of like looked at you to fix something, and still being new and training to have that be one of the first things that you take care of. It was kind of eye opening, and it was a little bit shocking, but um, it is hard when all that stuff is going on for somebody just to grab you and say, "Hey, come do this," particularly when there's only two of you,
Yeah.
and you don't have any help at all. So
hmm Yeah.
Mm.
And now you walk in the room and we all expect you to know what to do.
yeah, I mean, things are a little bit
That's
different
come
now.
full circle.
yeah, now it's like, oh, this is fine, I can take care of this. But it
Right.
is, interesting to see kind of like where you started and now where you're at. I think about
hmm
that a lot sometimes, and how fortunate we are just to be able to kind of grow throughout, the profession and the experiences you have doing things. It's interesting how things that were initially so traumatizing or surprising can now just be a regular part of everyday life that doesn't really phase you that much anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. I think
Yeah.
it is
I know.
probably interesting to look back. My first code, I never got the opportunity to kind of sit back and learn codes. Because my first code was when I worked in the nursing home. And of course, it's like almost everyone in my nursing home, all of the residents were DNRs except for like 3 people. And of course, one of those 3 people coded, and it's me, and he had a habit of like crawling under their bed and messing with things under the bed. And so we would find him frequently under the bed, and that's where we found him. And he was pulseless. And it was me, I was a nurse tech, my charge nurse, and then an NA, and we're doing BLS on the floor of the nursing home. Um, we got him back. We got Rosk, and he started yelling and sent him to the hospital, and he came back when I worked at my nursing home. Um, but that was like my first code, and like none of us really had that kind of like I never have had an opportunity to like sit back and watch the code. Because then my next one was when I was in neuro step down, and I just remember I was in, and we don't have a lot of codes in neuro, and I was in an NP school. Everyone knew I was going to move to cardiac, and I just remember one of the other chart nurses, like I was in a room, and I just hear, "Someone get me Abby!" And I'm like, what is going on? And I just hear, Abby! Abby! And I'm like, come out, and I'm like, I don't even think I want to to go to whatever I'm being yelled
Wow.
for, but I do, and the patient's coding, and yeah, my neuro step down coworkers were fabulous. They were great, but it was definitely like a little unsettling. I think the whole time I was there had 2 codes in 5 years. Like, it just didn't happen often. And so I walk in the room, and again, just like second code ever thrust into like doing things. So,
Wow.
and
That's
then I started
crazy.
working cardiac ICU.
That's funny.
Yeah. I just, Abby, where's Abby?
That's
And
like
then
when your kids are playing in another room and you hear something going, I'm gonna tell mom. It's like, don't come tell mom. Just keep it in there.
That's how I'm
but I
gonna
was
phone you when I need something.
Somebody give me Abby.
But that's I was glad I did go in because I walk in and they're trying to like pressure bag in fluid, but they had not taken the air out of the bag, and we didn't do it all that often. So I was like, "Ooh, give me that pressure bag quick."
Nice.
So,
Good job.
what about you, Kaylee?
I'm trying to remember. Um, it was when I was on orientation. Um, this is when I worked on an intermediate floor. So I was orienting to the intermediate floor. And at that hospital, they called all their codes overhead, even in the ICU.
Oh,
And my manager took me over to the ICU and he did the token. Hey, I've got a new grad. Let's let her do chest compressions. So I put the gown on, and this lady was a large individual. So it's the first time I've ever done chest compressions on a real person in my first code. And I was, I think she died, but I almost died. I did so many chest compressions and she was so big and I had never done them before, but I didn't want to be like, I'm tired. So I just kept, I kept on doing it. That was my first one. And I think I only saw one more code when I worked at that hospital, and they shocked asystole.
Okay.
did it
Okay.
work?
No. They had done like a full this was on my floor, and the ICU came over to run the code, and so it was like a doctor, 2 ICU nurses, and then an RT, I think. And they were about to call it, and they were like, "Does anybody else wanna do anything?" And they were like, "Well, let's just shock them one time." And it had been asystole the whole time. So they did that, and then they called it, but I just remember that because I was like, "I don't think you're supposed to shock that."
You're
I
right.
didn't say that, though. But that
Now
was
you
back
would.
when ACLS was really complicated. It
Yeah.
it had, like, 1,000 algorithms, and, like, Vaso was still in there and all sorts of weird stuff, so
Wow.
that was that.
Um, Jeff, since you're ED and critical care, and when you're on critical care on our little team, you cover codes throughout the whole hospital.
Mhm.
Where do you think is like the hardest place to code a patient? Like,
Oh, that's
where are you just like, oh gosh, not,
um yeah, I mean that's a good question. I think that um the place that I'm if I have to go run a code somewhere, usually it's I think initially my answer would have been just like our general medical floors, mainly just because there's so many people around. Of all types. I mean, there's physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, our nurses assistant. There's physicians of all different fields, just around, and everyone's waiting for us to show up, and you have to move through a crowd of people. Um, and I think trying to navigate that and also be, you know, politely ask people to get out of the way so you can try to go take care of somebody can be a little bit difficult to manage at times. But recently, I had a code down in the rehab center, and that was really hard. Um, Mainly more of because it was more of an emotional thing. You had somebody who was doing inpatient rehab and getting ready to leave the hospital and get better. um, One, it's so far away from from everywhere else that it's
Mhm.
hard to get help. We didn't have all the equipment there, and then the toll it kind of took on everybody who generally who worked down there regularly after the fact. You could see how much it really bothered them and how much it affected them. And so now if I get a code called to rehab, as generally I'm not super thrilled about that. I would much rather deal with the excess amount of people in the general medical floor than I would over in rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's really hard for them over there because they're so long
Yeah,
rehabbing, so they get to know them on such a different level, and then they're not they're not used to that like we are. They're used to their patients
Yeah.
going on to better things.
I mean, technically
yeah,
discharged from the hospital,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
They
Yeah,
should
yeah.
they are.
It was one of the few times that I actually had to do a debrief after a code situation. I know that we're a lot of times um, at least I feel like we skip the debrief part of the code, but in this instance, it was something I felt like I had to do just because emotionally for the people taking care of the rehab patients. There was the first time I had really seen a lot of staff members, crying after a code and who were, you know, outwardly upset about what happened, and not necessarily they weren't upset about what we did, but they were just upset about the outcome. And that part was kind of hard to deal with because a lot of the times, when we're running codes, everybody, it's something that we do a lot, and we usually do them with the same people, and so we're all just kind of have this wall that's kind of built up around poor outcomes. And when you get people who are not normally involved in those kinds of things, then having to step up and needing them to do stuff, and they're having to do compressions, and when there's not a good outcome, um, it affects them a lot more. And I think that was the hard part, was
Yeah.
was seeing everybody so upset afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely have those walls in the ICU. It's great that you shared that perspective though. And that you debriefed with them. I believe in debriefing after codes. I think I try to, especially bad codes, I try to debrief, or where I feel like there was a lot of disorganization, or even I think we debriefed a couple times during COVID when we had some of those longer term patients, or the um I know we debriefed after one of our ECMO patients, and I think it's an important part of the process anywhere, but I'm really glad that you debriefed with them. I'm sure that they appreciated it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
um,
nice to debrief when everybody did a good job too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
yeah.
I did a night shift, not a full debrief, but we had a code not too long ago on night shift where actually everybody did such a good job and it was very well organized. And I feel like sometimes you only hear the negative side. So I wanted to make sure that people heard, at least from me, like, hey, I thought you did a good job. Everybody worked really
Hmm.
well. So hopefully that helped. It was a lot of younger staff.
Yeah. What do you
I
think?
could
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was just going to say that I completely agree with you. I don't know how many times people just tend to forget that, and at least I feel like in an academic setting, there's a lot of times where people will bring up, you know, things that they're frustrated about, and they don't ever talk about when people do the right thing or when they do a good job. And I feel like telling somebody that they did something the right way, especially when you're trying to change a culture, is maybe, if not as important, maybe more important than talking about the things that you didn't do well. Particularly, when we go to the floor for our like critical care consults and the person ends up coding, the thing that I've seen over my years of being at the hospital we're at now is that, the general medicine floor, they do the thing that they do a really, really good job of is they do like closed loop communication, probably just as good, if not better, than what we do in the ICU, just because that's like the one thing that we're on them about. And then people started doing it, and you're like, hey, you guys did a really good job at this. And so now they take pride in like, oh, we're closed loop communicators. Like this is what we do. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like telling people they do a good job is just as important.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I agree. And I feel like, especially when you have people that choose to work in healthcare, a lot of us are type A's and we're always trying to fix. And if someone doesn't tell me that I did something good, then I'm going to try and keep fixing it. So if you tell me I'm good at this, I'm good at closed loops, then I know that this is a strong skill and I'm going to focus my energy on maybe knowing my meds better or better chest compressions. But, I'm too top heavy for those, so I don't do them.
Uh,
Okay.
I hate doing chest compressions.
I
I
can't.
I I well, I mean, I have had to. Sometimes if I'm just like the first one in there for whatever reason, I'm stuck over there. But I feel like most people I know that work with me are like, okay, we got to get her out of there. I'm like,
No,
"Get- I'll record, I'll do anything. Just get me out of here.
I hate recording.
I love it. Abby and I
I
talked
do.
about this. We
Yeah.
like to record.
I found a
I
new love for running the cart.
You like to run the cart?
Yeah. I used to always only do compressions or give meds, but now running the cart has been past few codes.
Hmm.
Like, oh, this is where it's at.
Yeah. Jeff, having been EMS, going through med school, h- do you have a favorite part of being in the code? Like I know you've had to push the meds when you're EMS.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just a basic EMT, so I was never got to the point where I could push meds for any of that stuff.
Mm,
I actually wanted to go on and do the paramedic stuff, but my dad had actually talked me out of it. That's a really long story, but I think my favorite part about running the code, um, I like being the lead, like the team lead or like the leader of the code. And I think that probably just stems from, my personality with, um, like how I like to work. I
mm-hmm.
always make the joke, if I never, like one of the main reasons I went into medicine was to not have a boss, but it turns out I have more bosses probably than I would have if I did something else.
Yeah.
Um, whether they're official bosses or it's listening to the nursing staff and taking advice from them. I
You don't
probably
want a
have
boss,
more
but you
bosses
went into a
now.
field where you work with just women mostly.
Yeah.
Female dominated profession.
So, if I didn't do this, I was like, oh, maybe I'd end up in business or something. But I just, I'm getting a little bit off topic. But
No.
I think like I like the part about running the code because it allows me to kind of go back to some of those EMS roots that I started when I was younger, and I can sit back and look at the big picture of everything that's going on. I can keep track of everything that everybody is doing, and I can be I don't really know the right term for this, but it's almost like, hey, I need you to do, chest compression. It's like I need them to be 10 beats faster.
Mm-hmm.
We are 30 minutes until, or 30 seconds until our next epi. Like I can have my hand in a little bit of everything just to make sure that our team is kind of running um, efficiently. And I like that part about it. I, the oversight is kind of what I like. Um, and certainly I don't like compressions. When I was in EMS a long time ago, I remember coding somebody in their driveway. It was just me and the paramedic. And where I was an EMT at, the only thing I could do was chest compressions and bag. And so the medic had to do absolutely everything else. So I did chest compressions for 45 minutes straight because we didn't have
Oh
anybody to come
my
back.
God. I would
So
die. You'd
I
be
mean, it
coding
was
me.
tough.
Never,
Uh,
even in the best shape of my life. No.
That's admirable because
the I was in a lot better shape back then. I got into medicine and got fat and overweight, but now but back then, I mean, it was the middle of the summertime in Michigan. It was probably, I don't know, 80, I don't know, 80, 85 degrees. And it
I've been to
was,
Mexico.
we got done.
literally.
We had these thick shirts too. We had like we
Yeah.
didn't have like, we had full on uniforms with like thick canvas pants. Our shirts were like button up when they had like multiple layers because they were supposed to protect us from, I don't know, like body fluids or something. And so they were hot and they were heavy. And so I got done with that. And the person, the person ended up not making it because we did compressions for a really, really long time. But afterwards, I climbed in the front of the ambulance and I passed out. I fell asleep
Yeah.
for like an hour and a half.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would have been dead. I would have
I'm
been
like,
dead next
I'm
to them.
done
Like,
for the week, probably.
For the
let me
month.
pull 5 balloon pumps
45 minutes,
before I
I
do
think
that.
for people who are non-medical, or maybe you've never got a chance to do chest compressions on a real person, maybe you've only done them on the mannequin, that is so hard to do good quality chest compressions like they want us to do. I mean, 2 minutes is supposed to be your cycle of chest compressions, and even
Yeah.
sometimes then, you're barely making it,
Yeah. At
especially if the
a
patient
minute
is maybe not, maybe they're, like, bigger person, but, 45
at,
minutes, good
at
god.
like a minute 30, I'm like,
I
man,
mean,
it's
how
been
long?
45
How
minutes.
long?
Like, how long do I have left? Oh my gosh. I could, and it's not like you get long breaks. You get like 10-second break
Yeah.
Yeah.
in between for 2 breaths and pulse check. Like, that's crazy. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I remember the first code that we had to do after, it was, like, when COVID was starting, we had to do the mandatory masking,
Oh,
and okay, so the unit is like bare bones because they've shut down all of the procedures and everything. So we didn't have that many patients or that many people working, but what we did have was sick. And we were doing this long code in 45 and we all had our masks on, we're like dripping sweat. And finally I had to call ERT. I was like, we need some help. We need some backup to come change out for chest compressions because like we're running out of steam.
Hmm.
And I've never ever had to do that before in the ICU because everybody wants to come cycle in, but it's like the same 5 people. We're the only ones working.
Yeah.
So that was tough. That's a workout.
40,
luckily,
45 minutes.
the hospital I was at during COVID, they gave us a Lucas device.
What's that?
It does compressions for you.
The thumper.
Yeah. So we just put it on. If we would anticipate them coding, we would already have it underneath them, and we could just hit the start button. You could literally run
That's
the code, just the
Gucci.
doctor, the nurse, and the respiratory therapist. Well, actually, you didn't need the respiratory therapist because we weren't bagging the patients during COVID.
I mean, those things are interesting, but if they're placed wrong,
And you couldn't use them on bigger patients.
yeah. We've had a few where they're not on right, and then we end up having like liver lax from them.
But we don't have them in the hospital. They use them for
We
like the trucks.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. Some of
I think
our
that's crazy.
some of our small hospitals have them because we'll get them. I don't know, Jeff. Maybe one a month that had the Lucas device.
Yeah. I feel like they're becoming more and more unpopular. I think I
Yeah.
vaguely remember reading something in the literature talking about how the outcomes haven't really changed with the use of the devices, and they're really expensive and kind of time consuming to put on when you have to do it initially. So I feel like they're kind of like on their way out or phasing out. Um, but I don't know.
No.
That's just my that's just my opinion from what I see. I mean, I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong.
Yeah, we
No.
used to limit exposure during COVID.
Mhm.
For COVID, it wasn't really utilized anymore.
It makes sense if you have limited amount of people
Yeah.
Yeah.
too. Like, I can see why they use them, out in the field.
Mhm.
I certainly would have used one that
You like to
day.
run the codes? Do you like to wear the sticker that says code leader? You pull it out of the cart and put
No,
it on your shirt? Oh,
I
no.
put it on them.
You know,
I know, I like to put it on people.
I whip it out and I put it on the attending. 'Cause, especially, I think it can get a little bit disorienting, who's running the code. I think too, it's hard, for someone like Jeff, where you were not too long ago a fellow, and now you're an attending, and people recognize you, but don't always know that you have switched. And so I definitely always do it when someone that trained with us is now an attending, so that people know and that they understand, okay, he's in a different role now, or they're in a different role now. Um,
I just like to yell
because
it out. I'm like,
yeah,
people, because if, like, we go up to, like,
Yeah.
the step down floor or whatever, whoever's there first is running the code until the critical care team gets there. That's
yeah,
what they're supposed to do. But then sometimes they don't wanna give it up,
Mm-mm.
and they'll be trying to give orders, and then, like, you'll be trying to give orders, and maybe you're trying to be polite, and I'll just be
mhm,
like, "Excuse me, like, who's running the code? Who is
yeah.
running the code?" And then normally they'll back off a little bit, but
That's why I
These
personally, if I think a patient's going to code or I'm concerned about it in CT, I'd rather just go myself and then make the call upstairs than have them overhead page it.
no. No. One of the best codes I've ever had was in CT, but we didn't. That's just 'cause it's the same thing, like, the nurses went, the doctor went, and I think the, provider went too, and the RT was with us already. So smooth, so clean, nobody else had to come in there. They were, on the I mean, it was set up. It's set up nicely, but, don't call
Yeah.
it overhead, oh my god. Can you imagine?
The other thing one time that I think really solidified, like, if I'm concerned about this patient, I'm going to just go. Our patient had gone down to CT and I was updating the family and they were very unstable. And as I'm talking to the family, they call overhead the CT, code blue CT room, and it's their family. And then that is how that family found out that he was coding again. Like, and they're looking at me and they're like, "Is that his CT room?" And I'm like, "Probably." Like, "I don't actually know. Let me go find out." And they're just, "We know it's him. We know it's him." Um, and then they were like, "Tell them to stop. We don't wanna do this anymore. Tell them to stop." So then I'm, like, calling downstairs, and it was really eye-opening seeing what, like, we all pause and stop when we hear our ding, 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 but it was very eye-opening to see, like, oh, yeah, all of these patients and family members, they all hear it too, and if their family is off the floor until that person arrives back, they probably just sit there with, like, a rock in their stomach, like,
Was
"Is
that
that
Nikki's
mine?"
patient that day?
Whose?
Was Nikki the nurse?
No, I don't think so. It might have been, it was a while ago.
Yeah, I think it might have been. That was
Yeah,
really traumatic.
yeah,
Can you
so
imagine as a family member?
Mm-mm.
I
but
think the worst place that I've ever had a code on was ortho on a night shift, but that was before the intensivist, so it was a surgical resident running the code, and all the nurses who work there have just absconded as soon as we showed up, and so they have like a trach or a laryngectomy, some ghetto something, and it's out, and then I can't get into the Pyxis. Where's the crash cart? There's one crash cart for the whole floor. The resident didn't speak English well, and I felt like I wanted to cry because I was like, "We can't get anything done because we have no supplies, like, we're bagging them." Someone finally brought the crash cart around, I had to, like, try to call the charge nurse, like, "Somebody's gotta come over here who works up here, like, what is going on with this patient?"
mhm. Ooh,
Um, Yeah.
That's very not the norm though now. Now it feels like everyone comes, always.
Almost too many people.
I think
Sometimes I
that
feel like
something
too many people
bad had
come.
happened and nobody wanted to have their name anywhere near it or something. And I think everybody was just like, "No, no, no, it's not me. I don't know."
Oh
Yeah, now
gosh.
you can't push them out of the way.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes I leave. Is that bad?
If
Sometimes
there's enough
you go to,
people.
like, upstairs, there's there shouldn't be 50 people in the hallway looking at us code a patient.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. You can't get through. You feel
Mm-mm.
like you're performing.
Yes.
It's like people are watching you constantly.
There's 40 nursing students. Nobody's letting them do anything, and everybody's just staring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. It almost feels like a car crash. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's just like, "What you
So,
doing?"
if I can't get people to leave, then I'll leave, and I'm like, "Well, I guess just call me if you need a bed or if they make
Mhm.
it." I don't know.
What do you guys think that stems from? Do you think it's they're there because they wanna help, or do you think it's because we just wanna know what's going on?
I think they're just being a little nosy because this is their unit.
I'll even take the people who are trying to run it up there, like, because of that. It's like, I don't need the ICU to come in and run my code, like, I'll get that, like, but the ones who are just standing there, yeah, I think they're just being nosy, and they wanna be involved, but they don't know or there's not a chance to.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, it's I try to remind myself, like, we don't want the bystander effect though either. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah,
So the
like everyone is there, but nobody's doing anything because there's so many people.
Well, the bystander effect is actually like no one goes to help because other people are assuming other people go.
Mm,
So, that it's like if you see a car crash and you're like, well, there's all these people around, someone else has probably called 911, but then
mhm,
everyone else is thinking the same thing and then no one calls 911. That's
mhm.
the bystander effect. And so I try it's frustrating to show up and you can't get through. There's so many people, the chaos that it can ensue, just all of the yelling and who's given what and of course you can't ever like get the question answered that you need. But at the same time I try to remind myself like, but it's better that people still come, that that we're not getting the bystander effect of like, well, some and that's kind of like what happened like to you almost where it's like, okay, they got it, goodbye, and then it's like, no, actually, we still need help. I do wish people would read the room and when there's enough help, move
Well,
on.
I don't know if we still do it, but when I started there in where we work, like, we had to respond to more codes than we do now, but everybody was supposed to have a specific role, so, like, the nurse from the 5th floor is supposed to do this, and then we're supposed to do this, and, the nurse from the 2nd floor is supposed to do this, so everybody had a defined role, but nobody would really ever follow that because it's like wherever the code happened, people are already doing it, so if I show up as a CICU nurse, I'm supposed to run the cart.
Mm,
Whoever was running the cart didn't want to give that up, and
yeah,
so, I guess just after years and years of trying to fight, like, "Well, I'm supposed to be doing this because I'm an expert or whatever," Um, it's like, "Well, I'm not gonna fight with you then. Like, if you don't want my help, I'm happy to help,
yeah,
but if not, I have stuff to get back to, and when you
yeah.
need a bed, I guess just call me." Especially if our provider's up there and ERT goes, so,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they've got people who can put in IOs and start all the drips and
And I think it's just as important of people watching the floor and watching the other patients just as much as helping in the code. And that's something that I wish people understood too. Like, we don't need another patient coding or falling or something being missed because everyone is here or leaving a machine that shouldn't be left unwatched. Um, like, and when I was a nurse, when we had rapid responses, I was either recording or I was like, whatever all the roles are taking, I'm going to manage the floor. I'll walk around and make sure everyone's okay.
Mhm. Well, I have to do that sometimes. It's like every single nurse that's working up here is over here, so who's watching the patients? And I have to look and be like, "One of y'all needs to go back to your pod. One of y'all
Hmm.
needs to go back to your pod. If we need to switch out, I will come get you guys to switch out." And it's not fun because, I think for us, people who are working in the ICU, they wanna be in on the codes, like, not saying it's fun that the patient is dying, but, like, that's what they're there to do. That's what they want to do.
Hmm.
So, you don't wanna be the one that's, like, has to go and just sit at the desk, but the other patients are critical too, and they need somebody watching them. But
Yeah. Yeah. I
And if
agree.
I know it's important to get, like, the newer nurses to go to the codes, but if everyone that's there is a newer nurse, then it's just mm,
That's how I got blood in my hair.
Oh. Mhm.
I
That's
was like,
when, you're recording and going to get stuff and telling people where stuff is and running the cart.
I one time we had multiple codes going at once. And so the attending was doing the one code, I was running the other, and it was a V-fib, and I was like, I need the amio, I need the amio, and the new nurse running the cart. After like 2 minutes, I was like, "Where's the amio?" And she's like, "I don't know what I'm doing." And she just threw her hands up and walked away. And I was like, "Okay, let me get the ammo." Like,
honest.
I was like,
That's
"Oh,
but that's why when you're a preceptor or you're an experienced nurse or provider, you need to take the new people with you and you need to be like, "Hey, come here.
Yeah.
You're gonna do this with me." Because it's very daunting to open up that crash cart and be like,
Yeah.
"Well, here's epi, that's fine. That's a box, I can hand it to you." But, like, having to mix stuff and the adrenaline's and you're, like, trying to do it with a
and
needle.
you're trying to read the
Yeah,
instructions."
and it's like,
Probably one of the most that and recording are probably the 2 most complex things to do during a code.
Mhm.
so I like to bring people with me and be like, "This we're gonna do it together." Like,
Yeah.
the patient's already dead, so it's fine if it takes you 10 or 20 seconds longer than it would have taken me. You're gonna learn it.
Even if the providers are yelling at you.
Yeah, well, then they can come do it themselves, you know?
Haas
Yeah,
yelled at once about a chest tube.
I was there.
really.
That
What was
was
that about?
We
'Cause
were out of chest tubes on the unit, and we thought it was a tension pneumo, and we had to get one from, like, downstairs, and he was like, "Where's the chest tube at?" And Jack was like, "We're working on it," and he was like, "Quicker." And I swear the whole room just, like, kinda stopped and looked, and he was like, "Sorry, sorry, I didn't mean that." Yeah, I was
Like,
like,
it's not our fault that we're out of stock.
yeah.
he had literally gone through
Had he used them all up?
yes.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll
If
yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
if in the middle of a code, you guys were like, "Then you mix the medicine," I would be, I would stop. Like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Let her
Be
cook,
like
okay?
That'd be a
be
big
like, "I'm
reality check right
sorry.
there.
I'm
It's
sorry."
just like, oh,
I'll speak to your elders that way.
What do you guys think about kinda like the organized chaos, especially as, like, we work together more? Like, do you ever pause and think about it? Like, how it's so chaotic, but then those of us that have worked together so much, it's still, like, so organized and run smoothly?
Yeah.
Mhm,
I feel like I thrive in that kind of
mhm,
situation,
me too.
I think
with
that's
the
what you
right
were
people. If you have
with
the right people, then yeah, it goes beautiful, but
When it's good, it's like a perfectly, like, choreographed dance or
yeah,
something. You know what I mean? And when it's
yeah.
bad, it's so bad.
it's so bad.
What do you think, Jeff? You work kind of again, you do them throughout.
yeah. So, I've been very fortunate so far where I haven't had a code up in the CICU yet. And I was trying my hardest to not say that during this podcast because
Yeah.
I'm sure next week I'm going to have a million of them. Um, but even in situations where we're kind of like peri arrest and we're trying to troubleshoot things, it can certainly get a little chaotic. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like you had mentioned earlier, being a fellow and then making that transition and trying to sometimes what I'm trying to convey isn't it's not doesn't come out the way that I mean it, as in like I know what I'm trying to say and I know what I it makes sense in my brain, but then trying to convey that to other people who are like, hey, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't normally do this. Like you need to like you need to fix this, or you need to like think about
Mhm.
um we don't use these numbers, we use these ones instead. And so sometimes that can cause a lot of chaos. So from a code standpoint, luckily I think that those kinds of a code might almost be a little bit easier just because how you run them is just so much more standardized. But
Yeah.
certainly if I had to like compare, running a code in the ICU or running a code like let's say in the ER, the benefit of doing the code in the ER is that they already kind of know that it's happening because they get
Mhm.
the call from EMS, hey, we're coding this person. So it's almost like they have 5 to 10 minutes to get everyone set up. Like, this is what your role is. This is what your guys' role is. There's tons of room. Everything's out. They have a line of people standing quiet, ready to do compressions. There's a pharmacist there. And so it's actually pretty impressive down in the ER compared to, as a fellow, when I was involved in codes um, in our ICUs. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in the CICU, but we do most of our training over in the medical ICU. And I think it stems from, like you said, everybody on that pod wants to come and help. So everybody's doing stuff, everyone's yelling, everyone's talking, there's boxes flying everywhere, there's people coming in and out of the room. That can be a little bit chaotic. And I don't want to say that it it's not necessarily that it's something that's fun because somebody is actively dying, or I guess technically they're dead and we're trying to revive them,
Mhm.
but it's the sometimes it's those kind of things that like gets your adrenaline pumping, for 5 to 10 minutes. And it it it's weird how a situation like that can sometimes cause tension, but I think more times than not it brings people closer together because now they have something that they did together and you can grow. And um I don't necessarily know exactly where I was going with that, but um
No, I think it's a good point.
you know
I'm a little, I'll be honest, as an IC working in the ICU, I'm a little shocked that, which I guess the way you explain it, it makes sense that, they kind of, for the most part, know when someone's going to code or who's at the highest risk of coding, and they kind of have it all sorted. Whereas for us, it's just most of the time, oh, they're coding. Like we know the few that we pull the code card out and kind of give everyone the red
Mhm.
flag. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think that if like it is a little bit in the trenches, it is a little bit bonding. Like I think everyone, um, whether it's, you know, bonding in the moment from all the adrenaline or because it's a sad case and we're all kind of mourning that loss together, I do think it's bonding. I had one CT code, well, post CT code that really, I think, brought me and one of the other APPs really close together. We had gone down to CT because we were worried that the patient might code, and we had an ECMO on the floor, and so everyone was busy with the ECMO, and the primary nurse couldn't go. The charge nurse couldn't go, so me and the other APP took the patient down with RT,
Okay.
and the float nurse came. Yeah.
Wow, they had a float nurse.
And then I just they were fine. CT was fine until we got off the scanner. Pressure started dropping. We're going up and up and up on the pressors. We get to the elevator, and the other APP was like, I think she's pulseless. And the other APP is much smaller than me. So I was like, you're getting on. Like, hop on the bed. And they did. They got on the bed and we're doing chest compressions and we're in the elevator and I call up and I'm like, it broke up, but I said, we're coding, we're coming down the hall soon, be ready. But they just heard be ready. And so we're coming down, and it's me, the nurse, and respiratory, and we're coming down the hall, and the respiratory therapist was like, ready, just ready. And they start sprinting, and I'm barely keeping up. And the other APP is on the chest doing compressions. And of course, it's the last room in the hall. We had to do like a 3-point turn to get into the room. I'm yelling down the hall. I'm like, we're coding, we're coding.
Mhm.
And everyone's just kind of staring for a second. And then as we come around the corner, like to get into the 3-point turn, the respiratory therapist did it so quick that the legs were very close to the wall. And so then I'm yelling at the other APP. I'm like, pull your legs in, because their legs were off the bed. And she like just in the nick of time pulled her legs up to not be like, taken out by the wall. We got in the room, got the patient back. They were fine, thankfully. But afterwards, all of us just died laughing. And whenever we tell the story, we just die laughing because it was just so crazy. And it was just like we almost took out an APP. Like
I could just see
everyone's
them rolling down the hall so fast, and Abby's little legs just, "Wait for me!
I was, I was like, oh
I
God.
died! Wait!"
I'm like trying to push meds. And then the other one, it was literally like this. It was like, they're like, ooh. Like,
Oh my god. Yeah,
it
it's a
was,
bad day when you end up in the bed with the patient doing chest compressions. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a story.
okay.
Okay. This is probably one of the worst codes that I've been in. So I had a patient who the reason they were with us was because every time that they moved, but especially if they got up to like walk or go to the bathroom, they would go into VFib. And he was in his 40s, maybe. This is a while ago, but kind of young. And he had some comorbidities. He was pretty overweight, but nice guy. So he had been on our floor. I think he had a balloon pump at one point because he was just so having so many arrhythmias, he was intubated. We got him extubated that morning. He was doing really well. And my APP, who no longer works there, was like, you need to get him up. And I was like, Okay. Well, I mean, he just got extubated. That's fine." And then the guy said he needed to go to the bathroom. He needed to have bowel movement. And the APP was like, get him into the bathroom. And I was like, uh, well, that's how he coded last time. And he just got extubated. So I'd like to give him a minute. And he bullied me and browbeat me. And this is like the one time I can remember that I let myself be bullied. So I got this big man up to the bathroom, and he's big and tall. Like, he made me look really small. And he gets in there, and what do you think happens? He goes into
Pizza.
VFib, right? Obviously. And
Oh,
my pod partner is about this tall and about the size of my arm. I'm like, "Well, you ain't gonna help." I'm like, "Please go hit the staff assist, do something." I'm trying to hold this man. I'm like in a squat, trying to hold this man from like falling off the toilet. So everybody comes in. We have to get him down. He doesn't even like, bless y'all. He was so sweet. He barely fits through the door. So we're in the bathroom doing a code. It's dirty. He's obviously like dirty. Nobody can get into him. I'm trapped in there. So people are like, step over him. I think he had one IV that got ripped out. This was one of the times I met one of our new physicians, and I thought he was a nurse, and I scolded him for sticking somewhere he wasn't supposed to stick, but it was a doctor. Thanks for your help. And anyways, we got him back. We had to get the lift team, like a big backboard, to try to get him back in the bed, go back to the cath lab, get a balloon pump put back in. And
oh
then the
God.
intensivist wanted me to stay down there and do epochs every 10 minutes and call him with the results while the patient was in the cath lab. So he has to come back up. And like, of course, the whole time the family's like, that he told you, like, you knew. And I was like, I can't throw my like person under the bus. I just want to be like, this, I told you, like this. I mean, it was going to happen. It's better to happen with us. But I'm like, it could have happened on a bedside commode. It could have
Right.
happened
In the bed.
on the bedpan. Jeez. And so he was fine. I had to, like, change scrubs and everything, but I was so mad I
Oh,
was mute for the rest of the day. And I
oh,
got another while I was down there, my other patient transferred out, and I got a patient from the OR who'd had, like, a transapendectomy or some bullshit, came out, he's got, like, 1,000 chest tubes and an epidural and a PCA and all this bullshit, and I swear I didn't talk to that APP for weeks.
brutal.
So if
I
you're
can
out
just
there and you have a bad feeling, you have a spidey sense, trust yourself and don't be bullied.
I can see your face too. I'm sure you were.
I mute. Absolutely mute. And he knew it because he didn't bring his cowboy boot self back over there for the rest of the day.
Oof.
I was like, "You're the attending's got it, thank you."
Oh god.
Do you know who it was?
If it's what I'm thinking about.
Okay. He doesn't work there anymore. I mean, the cowboy boots would have been the first sign, but
Yeah.
that's a topic for another podcast.
So while we head towards wrapping up, w- I think we have some laughs looking back at them, but we do, as you touched on, Jeff. Um, Sometimes it is traumatic. How do you all like take care of yourself when a code does kind of hit you? Like, do you have any tricks or things that you do that maybe our listeners could key into?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, whether it's a code or somebody that you're withdrawing care on, I always try to remind myself that, we did this job for one reason, and it was to take care of people. I think that a lot of times with our learners in particular, they forget that they're taking care of human beings. And what goes along with that is having human emotion, um, and just being honest with patients and with families. I don't know how many times in the last 6 months I've cried with a patient or with family members, because the situation is sad. I've prayed with with some families before, um, and I openly tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm not the most religious person, but here's some things that I believe. And I think that just showing that emotion, and showing the people and the families that you're taking care of that you're also just another person and you're doing your best to try to help. Um, I think that's the best way that I can cope with it, um, because bad things happen to people, and if it wasn't for us to help try to take care of people, then who else would do it?
Mhm.
And so I just kind of think of it as, you know, I don't know. I think about it in a way that is like, the whole purpose or the whole reason why I went into this job was to help them. And it's okay to feel the same emotions, or you don't have to be stoic the entire time. Letting people know that you're a human being, I think, goes a long way for them and for you. It's normal to have those kinds of reactions, and I don't think we should have to hide those things,
Yeah.
because otherwise you just kind of, you internalize it, and I think maybe down the road it maybe leads to some bigger problems. But if you just deal with it in the moment, like everybody else does, um, then I don't know. I think things seem to work out okay that way.
Yeah.
What about you
I
guise?
I
Go
seem
ahead.
to internalize it. I try not to get I know this probably sounds bad, but I'm just like put up not a wall, but a wall. Like you can get attached, but to an extent, because if you get so attached to every single patient, you're gonna get burnout. You can't get super attached to every single patient. Um, but there are the ones that do. They do have like a special place in your heart, and that does kind of affect you. But overall, I don't know. Try not to get. super, super attached. If that doesn't sound bad to say.
No, I think everyone has their own coping. What about you, Kaylee?
Um, I th the codes don't bother me that much anymore. I think unless there was some gross, mistreatment or something that, like, we didn't do right that caused it, um, that I feel like that's when I'm upset. Like, if the patient has coded, whether or not they make it because of something that wasn't done right or in time
Yeah.
that I feel like should have been done, that can be really hard to move on from. But other than that, like, I feel like if they're there with us and they code, then they were probably given the best chance they could have gotten to make it. Because if that had happened somewhere else, like, I don't believe that there's any other team that could have helped them more than we could with all of our
Mhm.
knowledge and resources and everything we have at the hospital. So,
Yeah.
like, we probably given them the best chance that they can have, and yes, it is sad, but if the family's there, hopefully they saw that we were doing everything. I mean, if you watch a code for 30 minutes, that's a long time, and if you're sitting there as a family member and you're seeing everything that's going on, I hope you can rest in knowing that we have done everything. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, if it does if it is bad or it is affecting me and I'm not able to just I'm probably gonna come home and have some wine. That's not a good coping mechanism, but that's what I'm gonna do,
Mm.
just keeping it real. So
Yeah. I think for me, just to answer my own question, I think I kind of used to do more what Cody did. I used to really internalize and kind of put up that wall and compartmentalize. I've found myself more recently that compartmentalizing for 17 years has not done me well. And figured that out when I cried hysterically cried over the death of a spider on TikTok. And I was like, this is not normal. Um, and for a while, the other APPs on our team got a little bit of humor out of sending me like sad videos, and I would cry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Um, and I have found, I think for me personally, I kind of am leaning more into Jeff's way of, feeling those, allowing myself to kind of feel that sadness. Because it's hard as a provider when I lose someone because there is always, did I miss something? What could I have done different? What if we did this medicine, an hour earlier? Um, and I think that's the other important part for healthcare workers is what could I have done differently? What am I going to carry forward from this patient? And to me, that helps me know that if I grow and reflect, that that patient's a part of them is still being carried on um, through me in caring for the next patient. So that kind of helps me cope too. So I always self-reflect after any code. What went well? What didn't go well? What can I do different as a provider?
Mhm.
So
I'd say if you work in healthcare or you work in the hospital, wherever you work, if you're witnessing things like this, if you're not, I would say you should probably find a therapist, and that doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, but it's like Abby said, we do it until we can't, and then it's almost like the floodgates open up, and
then
then
you're crying over spiders.
yeah, and we see a lot of trauma, and we witness a lot of things, and sometimes you don't even realize how bad it is until it
Yeah.
comes out like that, so I'm a big advocate for therapy, counseling, whatever you need, or something like that that helps you look inward and being able to express that in a healthy way so that you cope in healthy ways and you don't
Yeah.
come home and drink a bottle of wine or whatever, you know?
A lot of systems too have resources for these things, but I think debriefing also helps as a team.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
which I did want to just add, debriefing is part of the ACLS algorithm.
You can
Don't
tell who's
forget.
never been to a mega code training.
I don't
Well,
think we
any
debrief enough.
No.
no, we don't. Our unit does not. But maybe we will now.
Yeah, maybe we can bring it back.
Mm-hmm. Jeff will definitely debrief with us.
Yeah, because he's gonna have a code now. He says he's never had one, so it'll happen next time he's up here.
Yeah, I know.
You haven't listened to the superstition episode, clearly. You
No,
wouldn't have said it.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
the
brought
one
it on
behind
yourself. You
You're
know what that
on.
means, though? If you haven't had a code up there yet, it means that maybe you're doing a good job in keeping your patients
Yeah.
from getting to that point.
I mean, I try. I try my best. There's
Yeah.
always, I think especially being new, there's always like a little bit of trying to earn everyone's trust with, being the new person on the block and always being worried, like, are you messing something up? Are you not doing something good enough? But hopefully, hopefully that leads to, like you said, it's good patient care, and hopefully it leads to, good patient outcomes. And I always hope that I'm doing stuff the right way, but there's always that little bit of self-doubt. And I think Haas is on here a lot, and one of the things he said to me, like, kind of resonated, was like, you're kind of scared every day that you go into work because you don't want to mess up or make a mistake. And I feel like, if you try to hold yourself to that standard of never making a mistake, then you're always trying to, you're always pushing yourself to do the absolute best that you can every day. And,
Yeah.
I think that's what people deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, we'll tell you if you're messing up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's certainly been times where I've gotten things wrong, and that's one of the things I appreciate about you guys, is that you're very open to, like, hey, we don't think this is right. You need to, like, double check yourself. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, any final thoughts from anyone? Well, we want to hear your code stories. This is another topic that could go on forever, so we'll probably have a codes part 2, talking more about them. So let us know in the comments what your bad codes are, good codes are, what you like to do in them, what you don't like. We want to hear it all. Until next time, it's all of us here at Banter at the Bedside. Thanks. Bye. If this felt like your kind of conversation, make sure you're following, leave us a review, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye.
Step into the light where the stories hum.